Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia. I'm coming to you from the UK, and today is Thursday, the 16th of January 2024. I'm recording this again because I recorded this earlier and it was just way too early and my brain wasn't functioning and my words weren't coming out. So let's try again. It might be a quick one because I don't have much time, but yeah, I did want to check in and talk about what projects I have been working on, and some of them I have finished. So the elephant in the room is I have finished my CLA Sweater, which is a pattern by Sandnes Garn. This is CLA Ladies, pattern number 241004. There's also a men's pattern and a children's version of this, I believe. I'm not sure if you have to buy the yarn to get this pattern or not. I've heard that they've changed their methods, but honestly I don't know because I was always going to knit this with the original yarn, which is Sandnes Garn Peregrine, Tynn Peregrine, their thin version of this, which I really enjoy this yarn. I used essentially the colors used in the men's sample of this, which are Bristle Grey and a cream with tweed. I'm not sure what it's called, sorry. I think it has a number as a name. Yeah, so I did that. I finished this jumper. I knit both of the sleeves in the last 10 days or so, and I will say in the beginning it was a bit of, I had a bit of a mind block getting the sleeve started. But then once I did, it was actually really simple and really fun. So I just pushed myself to get this project done. In terms of modifications, I made the sleeves a bit more fitted. I mean, they're still, this entire sweater is very much oversized. But if you look at the pattern picture, the sleeves are also extremely oversized, including the cuffs. And I didn't want that. I wanted something to bring it in a little bit. So I just decreased a bit more under the arms, which you can't really tell. I just sort of sneaked it in with the pattern. And then I did some rapid decreases before doing my cuffs. So they're nice, and I like nice tight cuffs around my hands. I like that feeling, and I think it still gives that massive ski jumper vibe, but it brings it in a little bit. So yeah, I am so happy to have this done. It took me, I don't know, 3 months-ish to knit. And yes, I did take some breaks throughout, but honestly, this is a lot of knitting because it's a fingering weight all over colorwork sweater with positive ease. I think it's a 27 stitch gauge. I knitted on 3mm needles and I used 2.25mm sock needles for the ribbing. So it has a double folded collar as well. And yeah, I really like it. I'm really happy it's done, I will be honest, but I also really do like it. Another finished object, which I completely forgot to show you last week, is my advent wrap. So this is my Vignette Wrap, which is a pattern by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. And I knit this using my advent calendar from Indie Yarn Club here in the UK. And I had the sock yarn advent, and while the pattern recommends you use basically all of your 20-gram minis, I knew in advance that that would make too large of a shawl for me because I think the original shawl is well over 2 meters long, and that was just too much for me. So I used 13-ish grams per color per mini skein. I used magic knots as the pattern recommended, and isn't it fun? I love it. I was a little bit worried that it might be too short, but it did block out a lot. So you can either sort of wrap it. Woo! I can't wrap and podcast at the same time. You could easily wrap it twice if you did it properly, or what I probably would do is just sort of wear it more loosely. And I was also thinking this would be really nice with a black dress or something in summer and just sort of as a stole over my shoulders. I think that would be really good. So I'm happy to have this done. It is a sort of superwash fingering weight wrap, so it's not for the depths of winter, but as at some point it will get a bit warmer, I think this will be a really nice sort of statement piece. I mean, obviously it is quite bright, but yeah, I like it. It's done. So that is that. I also finished last week's socks, and I gifted them to a friend of ours pretty much immediately. So I can't show them to you, but you have seen them. They were almost done. And this week I also finished these socks. So these are the Fab Funky Fiber socks that I was working on in the last episode. Sorry, I still don't know the colorway because I took these to Germany over Christmas, and if you know me, you know whenever I go traveling, I lose all kinds of like ball bands and stuff. It just falls by the wayside. But they're done. They have long cuffs. These are for me, and I am really, really excited to start wearing them. So yeah, I think that's it for finished objects. Apologies if I'm speeding through. I am trying to be mindful of time, of my own as much as yours. So yeah, I had Monday off and I was really planning to do lots of knitting, and I was planning to cast on some new projects. But instead, and I hope you're proud, instead I picked up my Nebula Sweater. So this has been languishing for a while because at some point I had 3 garments on the go, and this one, I think part of it was it was paused because this is my second version of this. This is the Nebula Sweater by Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits. And despite making my first version, which was a handspun version, longer, it was still too short. So this one I stopped at some point because I needed to sit down and figure out how long to make the body because it is a bottom-up garment. So I finally picked it up again, and if you don't know, the Nebula Sweater has a lot of short rows, so the back is much longer than the front, which I think is really cool, but also makes it harder to gauge how long to knit the body for. But I worked it out. I think I almost made it too long, but I think it'll be right. And then I added the collar, and initially I thought about making the sleeveless because the pattern has both options. So for the sleeveless version, you just knit a bit of ribbing. And I did initially like the look of that, but I changed my mind, so I have since started a sleeve. But I am doing a couple of modifications on this. So like I said, I'm making it longer. You're supposed to have a, what's it called, 3 needle bind off showing on the outside with this line on top. But I can never get my attention for it to look just right, so I did it the other way around. I just did it on the inside. I did a very loose neck because at the point I wasn't sure if I was going to add sleeves or not, and I didn't want it to be too tight. So it looks a bit funny like this, but actually when you wear it, it's absolutely fine, and once it's blocked, I don't think you can tell. And I just hate a neckline that is tight when you put something on. I just don't like it. So yeah, oh yeah, and the sleeves, I am making them quite a bit tighter, so I'm decreasing. Because on the original pattern, if you've seen it, you know, the garment is already very oversized. And again, just like this, it has very oversized sleeves, which to me is just too much. So I'm doing sort of similar sleeves to Hohi Locatelli's Boxy, where the sleeves are more fitted to bring it in a little bit. And I'm at the point where I need to try on and see, because I don't know if I want to make 3/4 length sleeves or full length sleeves. I haven't really decided yet. So I need to try this on again because as it is a dropped shoulder, this part here is already sort of down here on me. So the sleeves themselves actually aren't that long to knit. So yeah, I have picked this back up and I hope to finish this by the time I talk to you next time. And the yarn that I am using is, I am using this Kid Silk Mohair from Gippard in the colorway 460. And the other yarn, which has dropped to the floor, is Holst Super Soft in, oh gosh, I always forget the name. What is the name? There we go. In the name, colorway Brandy. So this is Holst Super Soft, Brandy, and together I think it makes a really fun color, and honestly, this silk mohair is really, really nice. I think it may become one of my favorites. I did get it on sale. I'm not sure if it's being discontinued or not, but I really like it. So yeah, that is my Nebula Sweater. One sec. I have also been working on this scarf, which I discussed last week. This is my Brio Scarf that I told the story in detail last week. Essentially, I fell in love with a sample of a very similar scarf in Wollerödel in Germany, where this one colorway, this one yarn colorway is creating all of these different colors, and it looks really, really fun. The sample that I saw, I think it even has a pattern attached to it, was done in half fisherman's rib, but after some trying on and doing some swatching, I decided to do mine in sort of standard brioche. So I'm doing one color, one strand of yarn, brioche knit flat, which is very, very simple. And yeah, I have been working away on this. I think I'm still on the second ball of yarn. So I was down here somewhere between the orange and the yellow stripe when I last showed it to you. And this is just such a meditative knit. I am so excited by this. And the yarn that I'm using for this is Rico Creative Melange Decay in the colorway 203, no, in the colorway 17, which I think is called Multicolor or something like that. It has a lot of colors in it. Like, for example, the current ball that I'm working on, as you can see, I knit most of this yesterday. And it's all sort of pinks and purples, and they all like tone together really nicely. But then when you look at the ball and what I have left of it, you can see it's now going to go into like this bright yellow and green. And I just think this is really, really fun. This is a wool and acrylic blend, but I do really like it. It's very soft, and yeah, I am looking forward to wearing it. It's essentially like a singles yarn, and the quality is really nice. It's a little bit, sometimes, it's not thick and thin, but there's a little bit of variation in it, but not as much as it would annoy me or anything. It is absolutely fine. I think this is going to be really nice when I block it out as well. It's going to be a relatively wide scarf, and I am here for it. So that is my brioche scarf, and then of course I did cast on some new socks. So I actually cast on with some yarn that I got in Germany. I got 2 balls of this yarn in different colorways. This is Woolly Hugs Paint Socks, and this is colorway number 203. So I got 2 of these sort of self-striping commercial sock yarns, and I am so excited by this. I feel like I should be knitting this for Kai because he would really like these colors. In fact, I know he really likes those colors. But Kai is the sort of guy, my husband, he likes short socks. And this, I mean, it wasn't crazy expensive, but it wasn't cheap. And I was really like, this is something I'm really excited about. And I didn't want to use a whole ball of this to basically make short socks for my husband. So I've decided to make long socks out of this, and he can borrow them if he wants to. And otherwise, he will get another pair of socks. I mean, he just got a pair of socks for Christmas, so he will survive. So it is a 75-25 sort of virgin wool and polyamide blend, but somehow the way it's been plied and the structure of the yarn, I find it really, really nice to knit with. So of course I'm knitting socks, although this would have also been really nice for a Musselburgh hat. And as you can tell, I'm making a long cuff, and I think I'm just going to keep going for a bit longer because I want the proper rainbow on the leg of the sock. And then I think what I'll do is I will most likely use the outside of the ball to make a heel so I don't interrupt the color progression, unless I change my mind, but that's the plan for right now. Apparently this yarn is one of those where in the middle it'll have a different stripe or something to tell me where to start the second sock. So you can make matching socks. Not that that matters hugely to me, but I do really like this yarn. And because I'm pulling from the inside of the ball, it's a bit of a surprise what color will come next, which is also quite fun. So I worked on these mostly when commuting to and from work on Tuesday. And I don't know, something about this yarn is really, really enjoyable to knit. So yeah, that's another sort of 64 stitch plain vanilla sock. 2.25 US size 1 needles. A very, very basic sock. So yeah, that is that. Apologies for the background noises. Kai is making lunch. I haven't really worked on my scarf. what I have done is I have balled up all the leftovers of my yarn advent calendar. So I try to ball them up in the right order as I knit them into my wrap, but they may and may not be in the correct order. And I did magic knot all of them. So this ball is, I think it's about 140 grams of yarn. And this is theoretically ready to knit. I don't know if I want to make a musselburgh hat. Or maybe socks, but then obviously they wouldn't be matching, but it could still be fun. But it's a bit of an awkward quantity because 140 grams is more than I need for a pair of socks. I could probably do 2 pairs of socks. It's also a bit too much for a musselburgh if I want to use like all of it. So I'm also thinking I might keep this for like, I don't know, a brioche shawl or scarf or something where I can use it with something else. I haven't really decided yet, but it is ready to go whenever I want to use it. I am considering joining in the new Westknits shawl. I think it's the glow along, where you use, I presume, different shades of silk mohair held together to get different colors. It looks really fun, so I'm considering that. But they haven't told us what yarn to use yet, so I think for me it'll depend on how much mohair I'd have to buy. I'm trying not to buy very much this year, at least for right now. So if it's like 4 or 5 bowls of mohair, I'll probably join in. If it's huge amounts of yarn, I might not. It just sort of depends. But that is something I'm thinking about. And in the meantime, not knitting related, but embroidery related, I did finish my embroidery advent calendar, which I think I showed you last week. And I have started this project, which is a Christmas gift from my sisters. And the background story for this is quite funny because they gifted me this printed fabric for embroidery and sent it to my parents' house. And my dad got very confused because apparently my sister didn't know what she had ordered. So my dad asked me, because I'm in the UK, I was like, what is this package? Do you know what it is? So I looked it up and sort of spoiled my own Christmas present. But I didn't know what was inside. From that point, I just knew I was getting embroidery. So this is from Stitch Doodles in the UK, who I believe have an Etsy shop and a website. And my sisters gave me this. It's I think it's called like an embroidery year journal or something. And there's different concepts of this out there. A lot of people will just make their own where you, for each month, you stitch little symbols or whatever represents that month for you. So you do it every month, and then in the end you'll have this journal in embroidery form. But as you may know, and as my sisters knew, I like to play with the colors and the stitches with embroidery, but I don't necessarily want to design my own embroidery. So they found this, which has the canvas already printed, so I can just stitch, which I think is really, really fun. And I couldn't start this right away because I needed to get a couple of supplies. I needed to get a big enough hoop. But as soon as it arrived, I have started on my January. I haven't done very much, and I'm finding it a bit hard to plan the colors or not to overthink it. Maybe that is more my issue than the planning. But I think probably whatever I do, it'll be a fun project. I just need to stop worrying about the colors so much. But yeah, so I have started this, and probably if I sat down another, I don't know, I have Fridays off, I could probably finish the January portion of this. But yeah, just another little project to work along. And you guys, I think this is pretty much it for me for this week. I just wanted to catch you up. Otherwise, honestly, life has just been really busy. I feel like my work immediately got busy in January, and yeah, all the plates are spinning. I do like being back to our routine because I actually like our routine a lot. I'm glad my son's back at school. It's all going really well, but yeah, it's just busy. It's a busy time of year, and I really hope it eventually slows down again. I'm not sure if it will, but one can hope, right? So yeah, basically that is what I have been doing with my crafty time. Yeah, take a breath. I hope that wherever you are in the world that you're safe, you're healthy, and you have some yarn to play with. Do let me know what you're working on because it always inspires me. I mean, it might cause me to cast on all the things, but I really, really enjoy hearing what you're crafting, and sometimes when I can inspire some of you to cast on some projects as well, it makes me very, very happy. So thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you most likely next week. Until then, have a good week. Happy knitting. Bye.